Hello and welcome to Take You to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. I am your host, JP, John Poz from the two-man power trip. And of course, joining me is the star of the show, the former WWE World Tag Team Champion, 8-time Smoky Mountain Wrestling Tag Team Champion, one of the greatest trainers ever in the history of the business, the Doctor of Desire himself, Dr. Tom Prichard. Dr. Tom, how you doing today, sir?
John, I'm doing great today. It is a beautiful day in Knoxville, Tennessee, even though it is a November-like day where it kind of gets chilly in the morning and stays chilly all day long. I don't like those, but it is getting to the end of 2021, and man, oh man, we were just talking about how fast it was flying. And my goodness, it's that cold, wintry time of year when everybody kind of likes to sit by the fire and have a nice time, or sit outside by the fire and have a nice time. But I got to tell you, I'm ready for the cold to be over. It hadn't even started yet.
Man, it's getting cold here.
Yeah.
Woke up this morning, it was like 30 degrees. I was like, damn, what the hell?
Yeah.
By the afternoon, it was like 50, but still, you're waking up, it's that cold. Like, man.
Yeah, I'm not a fan at all. Not a fan at all. No.
Took the car a little bit to warm up, too. I was like, damn, that's kind of not used to that yet. Damn.
I think seat warmers should be mandatory in the Northeast, just so you know.
I agree.
Yeah.
And the automatic car start or whatever that thing is, the car starter, you can do it from the inside the house.
I agree. Yes, I agree. That should be mandatory in all cars, all vans, all motorized vehicles in this time of year. So, yeah, I agree.
I was told by a car manufacturer they were stopping doing that for a while because it was getting too expensive to put them in the cars. So they're getting cheap. I don't know how expensive they would be. It doesn't seem like it'd be too expensive, but that's how cheap they're getting.
Well, yeah, and it makes sense because, you know, I think what used to be a creature comfort has to become a little bit more of a practicality now. I mean, you don't want to go in and freeze your butt off on leather seats, especially in wintertime. So, or, well, I guess scorching your legs could be the same thing. But either way, man, I want a nice toasty car when I get in. That doesn't always happen.
So what's going on with the JPWA? Anything good?
Well, I have to tell you, and I know some of the guys, some of the gals, because they've told me that they're starting to watch the podcast and listen to the podcast. So we had a very spirited promo class tonight, which was great and always good to see. When you understand, or you start to understand, or you hear it explained. When we talk about think, shoot, but work, we really mean hit on something that might be a little too close to the heart, a little too close to the vest, or whatever it may be, where you say something about, I don't know, let's just say somebody brought medals or a trophy with them and cut a promo on that. And then they hit on that and they say, you know, your trophies and medals look a little brassy to me, I think was the word. And, you know, I have gold medals and things like that. So, I mean, that should hit close to the bone, but it also come up with some creativity and hit back, whatever it may be. But I'm reminded of the art of war. You know, the best war is won by not firing one shot, or however it's phrased in there. It's like, man, use your head, use the decoy, think about it, and what's really going to get to them. How do you move along in that storyline? What do you do? How do you think, shoot, but work? So we had a very spirited promo class today. We had a spirited promo class before promo class, actually, and it was very, very cool because anybody who's been around me for the past 10 years knows I'll start an argument just to start an argument to see where it'll take us, and we'll have a debate, even though you don't know. I'm not that seriously invested as you are. And it's the greatest thing ever, man. And tonight was kind of like that too. So that's what's going on at JPWA. We're getting into it, and the guys are just now finding out, you know, it will get cold at night, and we go through December 10th. It's going to be a great experience for those guys. We got some really good guys. We've had some really good classes this year, and this class is no exception. So we've got 3 ladies in the class, and they don't back down from anybody. That's the cool thing too. And some of the guys could be a little intimidated without even saying they're intimidated. Just their actions or just their words say it. So it can be a lot of fun if you let it.
Yeah. You know, I always do that too to like buddies of mine. They'll say like, "Oh, Bruce Springsteen is great." I'm like, "Oh, Bruce kind of sucks." Like,
Sucked.
yeah, he kind of like, but like, I want to see like how they defend him. And
Right.
my one buddy's like, "Well, yeah, well, maybe he didn't have that as many good songs as you think." I was like, "I'm just kidding," and you're like, you're getting into it. I thought you love Bruce. Like, what the
Yeah, but
hell?
I don't tell them I'm kidding, and they
Yeah,
don't
okay,
know. That's the great
yeah,
thing. It's man. But that's the way it works. It's not just as you just demonstrated. It's not just in wrestling. It's in life.
yeah,
It's just having a good time. So,
yeah.
and that's really what this should be about. Wrestling should still be fun, and if you're not having fun, then what's the use?
You know what they should do? They should like I've been doing it recently. Go back and watch some Hogan and Piper when Piper gets into WCW.
Mm,
Man, he is. You could tell they're shooting on each other. They're
yeah,
working, but you could tell he's saying,
right,
"I'm the reason you have no hair. Or you're bored." Like all this like good stuff, and then Hogan's like, "What about the hip, Piper?" Because he had the hip surgery. I mean,
right.
you could tell they're doing it for whatever. But they have personal issues, and they're definitely shooting, but they're working. It's great. I love it.
It's professional, whatever you want to call it, and whether it's wrestling, water skiing, hockey, polo, I don't care what it is. Once you get to that point, when I saw the Jake Paul, or was it Jake Paul or Rand Paul who fought that fella Mayweather? I know, not Rand Paul. Anyway, but when they were doing the press conference and Mayweather got so hot about pulling the hat off, taking the hat off, man, and you just knew he was going to kill him now. Come on, it's great. That's the best part of the unpredictability of it all. And that's something I don't know how many people really go off on and talk about in wrestling practice or professional wrestling school. But that is something I do on a constant basis, even when people come in. And I tell people when we start the class, I am going to mess with you, and I mess with everybody throughout. But it's an experience that I hope you take away a learning vibe from. It's not just a pick. No. There is something to catch from it if you'll listen and follow through. Just listen to what I'm saying. Just work with me on the promo, and it'll you may not understand what we're doing, but you get a feel for what we're doing, and maybe the rhythm will come to you once you leave us here in Knoxville as well. Some people can cut a promo like that. Some people don't understand yet. But once you do, it can be a lot of fun, not just in wrestling, but like you were doing with your buddies or just outside, and the only ones who know it are you sometimes. And the ability to control the conversation. I don't even talk about control the conversation, but be part of the conversation and know where you're going next, or even knowing when to make the right sharp turn, and they're still going straight ahead before they know you've already gone down another alley. That's fun to me. And it can be really fun with kids who aren't sure, and they look at you like you have three heads, but once they understand what the punchline is, and we come right back around to it at the end of class or somewhere later on in training, then they go, okay, for that night anyway, they'll understand. I have a theme to it, and while we're doing it, and then we'll go down that road, and we'll have a lot of fun. At least I'll have fun, and by the end of the night, hopefully they'll understand what we were going for, and going for the authenticity and feeling, and whether it's a headlock takeover or whether it's just an expression on your face because you're mad, you're going to show me, man. What do you mean I took him over like this? I'm going to show him how I'm going to take him over just like you want me to. Well, I wish you would have done it in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's to me is what still keeps my love for professional wrestling alive. Watching other people struggle with a lot of my innate conversations and as well as comments. So
That's like before my buddy was saying this one baseball player that's going to retire, hell of a career, won all these World Series, great player. I'm like, yeah, he wasn't a Hall of Famer. And like, you got to like dig him a little bit.
That's right. He didn't get the big one, but the World Series doesn't compare. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's how my night's been. So we had some visitors tonight. We had, and I'll go ahead and say this in case they watch it, because AJ was the one who said he listened to the podcast a couple of weeks ago. AJ Kazana and Dylan McQueen stopped by tonight, and
oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. they just stopped in. They were going to get in the ring, and then all of a sudden Dylan came. And whatever happens when Dylan's there is that the interaction and back and forth, and he can't help but get engulfed and inflamed with this conversation. So it was a great experience for all.
Was he on AEW Dark? Did he?
Yes.
Oh, he did. I thought so. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How'd that go? How did that all go for him? Did he like working for AEW?
Oh, he loves working for AEW. Dylan's a talented guy. I shouldn't say that with him listening to it, but he's a talented guy. And he's looking great. AJ's looking great. I mean, both of these guys are in their developing stage of their career. Dylan was in our first class. And he's passionate about everything he does, says, and has aspirations towards. So, AEW has been really good to him, and so have some other places in various parts of the country. So he's going out there making a name for himself, and so is AJ Kazana. And so is another guy we're talking about was Jake Tucker, the Mother Lover tonight. He's in Florida too, and hanging out with some other people down around Tampa. So as far as JPWA and our reach of students, we've been pretty cool around here. People have been booking the guys and gals, and then some of them go home. Some guys go home and start wrestling around their home territories and promotions. So it's still a good time for people to get involved when you love it and are passionate about professional wrestling. It's when you get around people who don't, if you don't like changes, you're going to like irrelevance even more, or you're going to hate irrelevance, I guess, is what the meaning is behind that statement. And you got to change. You got to know what people are looking for. You got to know what's next. And you don't always have it right in front of you laid out. You got to figure it out and find out where you fit. And that's the cool thing about it. They're finding out where they're fitting, and they're checking all the boxes they have to right now to get experience.
How do you get booked like for AEW? Is that through you, or is that through themselves? Like, is there somebody out there that's booking them?
No, they went through it themselves. Dylan went to the Nightmare Factory. He went through the 12-week course. After he went through 12 weeks with us, stayed around. He had the ambition to go to Atlanta, take the 12-week course there. And got on the AEW Darks and whatever else. I don't know if it's Rampage or whatever, but he's been on a few AEW Darks, and they're looking for talent. So he took it upon himself to go and be noticed. And that's what you have to do. You have to have the drive. You have to have the gumption. And we can lead you to water and tell you the river is right here. You just bend your head down and drink. But you have to actually follow those steps. And they've been very self-driven. And that's what you must be. You have to be successful and to even get a break today. So while we can do what we can do, it really is up to the talent in the end. They make their own breaks. I give them all the credit in the world for that too, because it's tough out there. It really is. You
don't watch AEW, do you? I know we talked about this a few weeks ago, but have you been watching?
I have not. No, I really haven't. I know some of the stuff going on there, yeah, but I haven't watched it. Just haven't had the opportunity.
What about WWE?
I have not watched WWE in a while either. I haven't had the opportunity as well. I know what's going on there too, but I just haven't had the opportunity. I mean, so there you go.
I hope Bruce isn't listening. Jeez,
if he is, he would understand.
Yes.
So yes. I mean, I just came in and we just set this up and we just started at 9 o'clock on an official night. So my day start as everybody else does. Well, everybody else has busy days too. I'm no different. I keep up with what's going on there, but as far as watching either show, however you want to say it, and critiquing or watching the matches or the vignettes or the promos, interviews, whatever, I just haven't had the time to actually sit down and watch it. I'll pay attention to what's going on, and I'll read the blips and listen to my resources, if you will. But that's it. I have not.
So as far as this week, kind of to elaborate from last week, I know you said to follow up with you about it. We wanted to talk about, so you want to be a wrestler, huh? The life of a wrestler. We had left off. We didn't talk about the taxes part. You said to bring that up to you this week. I feel like that is something where that could be a long process for a wrestler. That, let's just say, you're an independent contractor. Isn't each state like the tax from each state you wrestled in?
Yes. If you have if you wrestle in a state that has state taxes, of course they're going to send you is it a 1099, I guess?
Yeah.
Or from whatever it is from every state that has a state tax. So and of course it's best to do pay quarterly taxes. Let me just share a little story here. Many years ago, in the early mid 80s, there was a guy in down south who did taxes, and he did everybody's taxes. And you would think he would know about rounding numbers off, like 250 or 300 or whatever. It just, then instead of a like 49.96 or 74.83, something like that, where it's not so obvious and suspicious, I guess. And when you do things like that, it puts up a red flag. I'm sure it still does. It put up a red flag back then, and a lot of us got audited. And you never want to get audited by the IRS. It's just it's a tedious process. It's a horrible process. It's just not a good thing to have happen. And it happened. You'll never pay it off if you pay the minimum. So you need to know the laws. You need to be smart with your money these days. And I believe the Performance Center in Orlando actually teaches the guys about this these days, and talk about money management. But you should always get a receipt for anything, the smallest thing, from a pack of gum, Mentos, whatever you buy at the airport or on the road, whatever it is, no matter how small, always get a receipt and write it off if you can. It is a day of people taking care of money matters a hell of a lot better than we did way back when. So taxes can be a real glitch for you throughout your life. If you don't take care of it, don't pay attention to it, you get behind on it, they won't let you go. They will find you eventually. You can run for a little bit, but I think, and I don't know how long these days, especially because the government wants their money. The IRS wants their money, and you have to be careful, because you may wind up spending more than you make, and it could be a big mess. So my recommendation to anyone that's just starting out, or even if you've been around for a while and you haven't done this, get a receipt for everything you pay for: credit card, debit card, cash, whatever it is. And all you have to do is get a date book. Get a date book like this. Put your taxes on the week you went, or the taxes, your receipts on the weeks that you've worked. Write it down. Staple it together. Yeah, it'll get thick. Yeah, you'll get a good big thick book, but you'll have your receipts by the end of the year. Get a good accountant. Get a guy who knows what he's doing. And I had a great accountant. Guy named Harry Venice in Miami, Florida. He passed away due to COVID back in early 2020. It was like, oh my God. So we're going to keep working with their company because we're familiar with their people, and they do great customer service. When we call and have a question, or email and have a question, they get back to us within a day or two. So having a good accountant and knowing how to distribute what needs to be distributed and take off what needs to be taken off. He understands the entertainment business or professional wrestling, what's needed or what can be wrote off and what can't. And I honest to God can't stress enough how important that is. So, I mean, that in a nutshell is it. keep your receipts, take care of your taxes, pay them every year. Don't let it slip, not even a year, because then you're on their radar for sure. So,
Like, let's say WB, do they give you each state? Like, I mean, how does that
Mhm.
work with like they, I guess, kind of are the ones that are sending it off, even though you're an independent contractor, you're getting all the information from WB?
either that or the address. I'm not sure if it all comes to the office, because I know the licensing. There's various states that you have to license. I know Kentucky, Missouri, and I don't know who else does licenses, but I know those two for sure. You have to pay for a license, and that is obviously a write-off because you're a pro. And I don't know if it necessarily goes to WWE. I don't remember now because it's been so long that if they sent it to us or it came to my home address. But either way, it'll find its way to you. And if it's a state thing, then I think it would be like anything else with the government. They'd probably you'd have to have your Social Security on it anyway, and then they might just send it to your home. I don't recall if it was WWE that sent it to us or not.
For like being an independent contractor in general, what does that mean like to you? It's just to me,
Yeah,
there's
it's
so many,
terrible.
it's like it's I don't know. To me, it's such a broad thing to say, like, "Oh, I'm an independent contractor." But what does it mean, though? Like how are they so independent if you have to be certain places at certain times, and doesn't sound so independent?
Well, probably not. But at the same time, if you think about it like this, we're entertainers and we want to entertain. We want to wrestle. We want to just go out and work. We don't want to have to worry about taxes or legalities or semantics, I guess. You're an independent contractor, but you got to be here. Well, that's not so independent. Yeah, I know, but if you want to work for us, you got to be here. For me, that was pretty much what it was. I came from the land in the day when you got paid cash, and later on you would get a check, but it was always that way. It was always you got cash that night or a check by the end of the week with your payouts written down. So I was content with that. I was content with being a wrestler. I was content being an independent contractor. I wanted to be free to go where I wanted to go. And if I was in a territory, chances are I wanted to be there because I was. So when it comes to, and I understand, seriously, if you have a family, if you've had a real job before, if you've had a life, besides just running on the road, and you get into wrestling and all of a sudden there's no steady income. There was no guarantee what you were going to make. You were going to make what was drawn off the houses. Well, that's insane. Unless you want to do it because this is what you're meant to do or want to do, whatever it is. Not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it could be a sticker shock, so to speak, to a lot of people who've never been on the road before and don't understand. You're paying for your meals, you're paying for your hotel, gas, all the necessities to get where you need to be. Therefore, you have to share a car or a room or whatever with someone to help split the cost. It was just the way it was. Have we progressed? I don't know. NXT is still doing house shows, I guess, or road shows or traveling. I don't know. Are they?
Not right
NXT?
now. No,
Right.
supposed they're saying that they were going to give the guys more work, but I don't think they've done it or started it yet.
But prior to this, they had the bus
Yep.
and they had the hotels and they would go to these places. So now they're being treated like a traveling, an actual professional traveling team. Great, that's perfect. But that wasn't the way it was done years ago. And in Japan, they would get a bus for the American guys or foreign guys, and one for the home team, the Japanese guys, and put you up in a hotel. And it was a really cool thing. That's why guys liked going to Japan, because it was professional the entire time, and it was really a cool gig. So I think it was just a matter of nobody put a gun to anybody's head and said, "Hey, you got to be a professional wrestler and take this. You're going to be an independent contractor, and there's no chance for you to ever be guaranteed that you're going to make a certain amount." Of course, there were always top guys, and there were always guys who were making more than the other guys, and they were guaranteed, or maybe had an agreement, whatever it may be. So for me, I was wanting to live the life and be there. So I had no complaints whatsoever.
Can you say, like, okay, I know I'm an independent contractor, but in this contract that I'm about to get, you guys cover cars, your rental, whatever, hotels. Like, can you throw that in there, or
I'm sure
depends on
you
your
can
position?
if you have an agent or someone, a lawyer who's looking over your contract, and you say, "Hey, this doesn't seem very favorable for you, but what if you get a car, a hotel, or some other kind of arrangement?" So I'm sure you can. Yeah. Um, I know of one person who had it written in his contract that he was promised at least one WWF championship match, one on Raw, and it happened. They gave him one WWF match on Raw. It was written in the contract. That was one of the stipulations. Now, I'm sure guys had other things written in there, there were certainly different levels. But once again, that's business. That's the way it was done. And yeah, did you ask for things and never get them? I'm sure. But if you had a good agent or a lawyer, well, then you pretty much got what you asked for, I would think.
Is the whole taxes thing, is that just a huge pain in the ass at the end of the year if you're not like an organized guy? I mean, that just seems like, my God, like,
Well, wait a
okay,
minute. Hold on here. Um, I know this may be hard to believe, but I was not always an organized guy, and I question whether I am or not today. And I used to have stacks, but this was when I would leave on a Sunday night, get back on a Wednesday morning. I would go in Stanford. This is Stanford. Go to the studio, and I had I was able to do voiceovers with Kevin Kelly and Raymond Rougeau. Ray and I would do Superstars, and Kevin and I would do, I think, Metal or whatever that syndicated show was.
yeah.
So I would be there until about 1 or 2. I would have to go back over to the office if there was anything to do, like watch videos or anything else, phone calls, whatever it was we were supposed to do past that. And I never really took the time to put my receipts away, so I would lay them on the floor, and by the end of the year, it would go all around my place. And yeah, it could be a pain in the ass and just unnecessary unnecessary things having to be done. That really, I wasn't very organized, and it was a pain in the proverbial ass to do it. But by the end of the year, I would try and get it together and take care of it best I could. Yeah, so I don't suggest that way of doing it at all. Take care of it as you go, quarterly, pay quarterly. The guys are making enough to do that now. It's not the same kind of business. Hopefully, to God, you don't have the same kind of maniacs in it as we did many, many years ago. Although, anyway, different time, different place.
It's just funny, like, to think as like a fan. It's like, all right, Hogan is this top notch guy, but he better have a damn good accountant because he's doing 2 shows a night and he's going here,
Yeah,
he's going. It's like crazy to think that.
but no, not necessarily, because Hulk had a lot to lose, as I think he found out later on in life. You know, you
Yeah,
do need a great accountant. You do need great lawyers, especially when you start making money like that. No doubt, no doubt. Guys like Hulk, Orndorff, Andre, Piper, any of those top guys, any of those guys in that uh, classification had to have great lawyers and great accountants, um, or they paid the price. I mean, I think in the end, uh, you're you need to save everything you can, as much as you can. It's not how much you make, it's how much you save. I heard that for years and years and years. But then I just read about Batista, who said he was broke. Did you hear this? Said he was broke when he left the wrestling business, and because he was spending money on all these crazy things like cars and houses. And okay, well, I've also talked to people who said when they made all this money, they bought the big house and the big car, the 4 cars or 3 cars, I think it was. And they said it was all just to feed my ego. And when I snapped out of it, I thought, no, this isn't permanent. So I need to make sure I take care of it now so I have it later. So he came to their senses, and it's a part of being enamored and then starstruck, and then the reality of the money coming in, I guess, and you're making over $1 million, not $1 million, but over maybe $2 or $3 million a year. And you start thinking, whoa, I don't have to be confined in a box. I can do whatever I want. And then you expand. And some guys find out they just keep expanding and never stop. It will end at one time. You as much as we want to wrestle forever, it's not possible. I mean, and you're not going to keep those payoffs up forever. So I would hope the guys are educated on that, which I'm pretty sure they are these days. They're educated on the fact that it won't last forever. This is a temporary deal. And, you may become immortal, no doubt, but even Hulk Hogan is feeling the effects of a long, illustrious career. But, I'm sure he wishes he would have made a few different decisions along the way too. So now I think they're making sure that the guys, or I would hope they're making sure, they being WWE, making sure the guys are learning and getting an education about what to do with money, how to budget, and how to be smart these days. And not that everybody was a complete idiot back then, but there wasn't the guaranteed money there is today, and there wasn't a lot of things that there is today, or way back then, and way back when. But the guys, the future of the business, are a lot smarter in a lot of different ways, and in ways it's going to benefit them if they just keep it up, keep doing what they're supposed to be doing the next right thing.
Do you think that, like, let's say you make $500,000 a year or something, how much do you think you're actually taking home? Because there's so many expenses on the road. It's nuts what you guys had to pay for, like, cars, hotels, flights, all this other, or unless maybe flights were covered. But it seems like 500,000 sounds great, but it might not even be anywhere close to that by the end of the year.
No, I don't think it is anywhere close to that. It might be half, but I couldn't be for sure either. I mean, you have guys like Mick Foley and Owen Hart who knew how to save a dime, save a dollar. The hotels are paid for. The flights are not paid for. I'm sorry. The flights are paid for, obviously, but the hotels are up to you. And you might have a friend, a fan who picks you up at the airport, and they enjoy picking you up at the airport. They want to pick you up at the airport. They are doing it not for anything except because they want to. And Owen can be nice to them. Mick can be nice to anyone, and it works out sometimes. But that's the extreme, I think. Yeah, you have to pay for your rental car, but do you need a huge Lincoln, or can you get by with a midsize or full-size car? If you travel by yourself, you don't need a lot unless you're a big guy and want to spread out. It's up to you. But back in the day, It really was up to you where you wanted to stay. Fly into town, somebody pick you up. Okay, great. I know Mick and Owen sometimes will stay at people's houses. That's extreme. I know. I couldn't do that, but they can't. They could. So, but once again, nobody was saying you have to do this. You're more than welcome to go out and get a different job, get out a different venue. Work at Costco. That's not a problem. That's not a bad deal at all. But we wanted to be on the road. We wanted to be wrestlers. Want to be wrestlers. Want to be sports entertainers. And we got to do it, and got to do it our way. Today, they're doing it their way, whatever that is. I hope they're saving their money, though.
Now, plus you got to be probably drinking and eating on the road,
Yeah.
maybe some partying involved. So there's a lot of money being spent. May not even realize it. It could be willy-nilly spending it on the drinking and the eating and the partying.
It's happened, and it's once again, it's up to you if you want to go out. You can stay in the hotel. You can stay away. You don't have to. Nobody's forcing anybody to go out and party or spend money and do ridiculous things. Nobody. But when you're on the road, and some people handle it better than others, but it was different. It was a different entertainment and energy level altogether. I think it's still out there for some guys, but the smart guys, the guys who've learned and the guys who paid attention, understand that going out and drinking all night long or spending your money haphazardly on anything, anytime, it's not going to magically reappear. You've lost it. So you have to, it's not about what you make, it's about what you save. And I think everybody understands that these days. And if you're not going out, then you're saving that money that you would be spending on whether it's liquor, beer, or whatever. Some guys run up a tab of $600, $1,000, whatever it may be, just because they want to be the big guy in the bar. Great. It's fun. And it's happiness for a little bit, but after that, it's gone. So I think most of the guys understand it these days. I would hope they do. If not, I just explained it.
So would you always have a roommate? Would you always travel with somebody in your car? Because it's technically saving money, right? Half.
Technically saving money, but I was a loner. I was a guy who, for whatever reason, I can't explain why. I really can't. My partners and I were different people. Candido was a different guy. He had Sonny. He had Tammy with him. My partner Jimmy he and I were, two different people. And there were times I would ride with others, but there were a lot of times I was just by myself. And I'd get a room by myself. And I would hang out sometimes in the bars, sometimes not. But yeah, and you have guys like that too these days who are loners for whatever reason. It's not that we were unsociable or antisocial, period. I think it was just the fact that I understood Jimmy and he understood me. He liked to come in when we go out, and we went out, I think, twice or more than that, a couple times during our run together. And he's the kind of guy who wanted to come in and let everybody know we were there. And I'm a little more under the radar kind of guy. I want to come in and look around and stay a little bit under the radar and low key. So for a little bit, and we were just at different. I didn't like the attention being attracted right off the bat when we're walking in, because usually it wouldn't end well. So that was my deal. So I traveled a lot of times by myself, stayed in a room by myself, and did it that way. It worked better for me, and I think better for other people too.
To each their own, I guess.
Well, of course, I've always felt that way. I really have. I mean, I would rather I would rather have a good week than have to deal with the stress of anybody else's stress. And I think they felt the same way.
Gotcha. I guess that is a great stopping point for this week, as we're talking all about. So you want to be a wrestler? Let's talk about your
I'm
book.
not so sure, John. Hold on. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that was actually a endorsement on being on the road because because when I think about it and I talk about it a lot of times. Let me just finish this up while we're finishing it up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was a loner, but Jimmy and I had again this different idea of the way our ideas flowed, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah. Go drink with Tatanka, Jimmy.
Well, whatever we did, and I said a couple times, man, I don't mean any disrespect, but I think for me and for you, we got along great in the ring, and we did some really good stuff together. But on the road, it's a really there's a lot of things, a lot of elements nobody really can tell you about or talk about. Reach it until you meet it, until you see it and experience it, and then you kind of go, "Damn, I don't need this." And that's kind of the way I felt a lot of times. It was like I could go out and enjoy myself, but if I wasn't enjoying myself, it wasn't worth it to me, and I didn't need the extra added baggage. I just didn't. So that's why it was me by myself a lot of times, because if anything happened, it was on me. I couldn't blame anybody else. So I was good with that. So just to clarify, because sometimes I get to talking and then people misunderstand what I'm saying and they go, "What?" And and I get that. So I had to clarify it.
Yes.
I did it a lot of times because it was better that way for everybody. Okay, now we can close this thing. How about that?
Nice. Hey, I'm with you on that. Being alone, you just focus on yourself. A pro wrestling curriculum, advice, suggestions, stories to help the aspiring pro get to the next level. Dr. Tom, what about this awesome book? Where can they get it?
They can get that awesome book at jpwrestlingacademy.com. On the front page, you can order right there. Just click on the book, and it'll tell you how to do it. Also on jpwrestlingacademy.com, we will have our next year's class, 2022, I believe, starts January 4th, and it's a 12-week course. So, again, go to our website, find out all about it, jpwrestlingacademy.com.
Nice. Great stuff there. Of course, go to Pro Wrestling Tees, prowrestlingtees.com. Get the JPWA shirt or the Dr. Tom shirt. You could also go to Twitter and Instagram. Follow me at 2Man Power Trip. You could also follow Dr. Tom at Dr. Tom Prichard on Twitter. Anything else you got going on? I know WrestleCade's coming up.
WrestleCade's coming up. That's about the only thing. And, oh, man. Get my knee scoped on December 14th. I'm telling everybody about that. Man, I tore both of my meniscus. And I didn't know it for I tore it in July, and I found out about it in September. So there you go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I finally went to the doctor in September, the ortho, because, see, there's no way I could have torn anything in my knee. I was praying that way. I was going that way. I was thinking that way. And guess what? It was that way. Yeah. So anyway, that's it.
Nice. Good stuff. As always, Dr. Tom, thank you, everybody out there, for listening. We'll see you right back here next week for a little Take You to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. See you next week.